Welcome to Hip to the Scene. Talking music, videos, and everything in between.
Greetings, everybody. Andy Gessner welcoming you to Hip to the Scene, where every episode we ask a question we know talented creatives all across the world are needing answered. So today's episode, very simple. What do I need to know before shooting my next music video? So as someone who has been involved with music videos for over 2 decades, my thought was, why don't we get the top expert talk about being hip to the scene, and he can speak directly to that question, what do I need to know before shooting my next music video? Our guest today is Steve Gottlieb. Steve Gottlieb is a behind-the-scenes music video force to be reckoned with. His knowledge in this arena surpasses anyone I've known in this business for over 40 years. Steve, for darn near a quarter of a century, has worked with legendary record labels like Columbia, Atlantic, Island, and during those years, our guest has watched over 200,000 music videos. I know it seems impossible. He's done it. Now, I met him when he was the chief editor at the CVC Report. We're going back a long time here, ladies and gentlemen. But you may know him as the editor-in-chief, head honcho, person in charge at videostatic.com. The reason we're chatting with him today is very simple. It's because what you really need to know about is contentvideo.net. What is contentvideo.net? It is the easiest way to make sure that you, the musician, are connected with your music video needs. Steve, welcome to Hip to the Scene.
Honored to be here.
Cool, my friend. So what's the straight scoop? What do talented creatives need to know before shooting their next visual?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I've actually watched 200,000 music videos. And if I have to reevaluate my life. That's another story. What do you need to know before you shoot your video? You need to know what you're trying to achieve, and you need to know what you're trying to spend. And those are really your two biggest variables. Two of the biggest mistakes that I see artists make, especially independent artists who I work with, who don't have a label support and maybe don't have, one of the bigger management companies with an infrastructure behind them, is, they don't know what they want, except that they know they want it to be great. And I find that the most success comes from working with artists who have a very clear idea of who they are and how they're visually defined and have a clear style, and also know what kind of video is going to be effective for them. And ideally, all of that is going to fall within the budget they have. I'm not a big fan of getting people to spend more money than they have to make a music video. You can make music videos for a wide range of numbers, from low budgets to super high budgets. And you can achieve something that's quality and you can achieve something that's effective at every level, so long as you kind of know what you're looking for and you're working with the right people.
I am going to make a statement, true or false. A band or artist's music video remains the single most powerful piece of marketing currency it has. A music video can inscribe the face of an artist on the memories of millions. A creative low-budget clip can vault an unknown group from basement status to the big leagues. And a video can establish a musician's brand, aesthetic, message, and look faster and more efficiently than anything else he or she can make.
I'll give that a qualified true.
I think people are not appreciating that with a world and human family glued to their screens. You better figure something out there, folks, because visual content reigns supreme. And what you need to know about Steve, I know you hear the word music video commissioning and you get scared because you think it all, big chingy ching. And executive producing, oh my gosh, that sounds expensive. Or content consulting, oh my gosh, I've got a very limited budget. Please know that Steve, he does behind the scenes, he does interviews, he could shoot you in a room during this current situation. And think about it, folks, if you've not got fresh, new visual content as part of your upcoming 2021 marketing strategy, it's going to suck to be you.
Well, we've done everything from, totally remote Zoom recording sessions like we're doing right now. We've done, COVID compliant music video shoots and other content gathering shoots. And yeah, the way I like to kind of phrase it to my clients is, what I make is generally very dependent upon what the overall budget is. It's, so it's going to be within the scope of what you're spending. And ideally, I'm going to either save you money by finding things that we can adjust, be it in the budget or be it in the creative or be it in the scale of what we're doing, or save you from making mistakes by just doing the due diligence in the pre-production process. I've seen people come to me and looking to spend a lot of money, and they're not really there yet. And I'm not afraid to tell them, you don't really need to spend this much money, that you can do something that's scaled more towards the level you're at. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, knowing what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to have a hit pop record and you're trying to compete with top 40 artists, well, that's a very competitive lane. There's, the Fall Out Boy song is, this ain't a whatever, this is an arms race, There's a little bit of that with artists trying to outdo each other with bigger and better videos. But there's also a lane for, smaller creative videos. Most videos, the ultimate success is tied directly to what the song is. People will share videos that they like the visuals, and videos that have cool visuals will get some exposure from certain outlets. But, at the end of the day, hit records sort of drive overall views.
Understood, Steve. Very well said. I am curious, what are the first go-to people. A client comes to you and says, I need a music video that's going to sizzle. You go to your Rolodex. Is it the director, the location scout, the editor? How do you weave your magic?
I've got a good network of directors, executive producers, and director reps, and that's usually where I get started. And go to them, kind of talk about the project, share the details of the project, see who they think is effective. Going direct to a director is always great, but there's no one way to do it. There's no one way that things come together. Sometimes we're really pleasantly surprised by who submits the treatments and who jumps in. Sometimes we're left a little befuddled and that we don't have the ideas we're looking for, or the directors that we were hoping would write didn't write. It kind of all varies. So there's no one way of doing it, but it's a process. It's not too, you want to, it's kind of like buying a house. Unfortunately, no two homes are the same, so you can never compare and contrast really directly. So the goal is to find ideas you like, ideally from creative teams you like, and make sure you can get it done for the budget you're planning to spend. And and budget's a key word that protects everybody. So everybody knows what they're supposed to spend. They know what the parameters are, and try to keep within that lane. You and I have seen great videos which have been basically made for no money, where they're basically an artist tapping into their community and their friends and their circle of artists and their colleagues and getting something made that wouldn't even be remotely possible for even double the money through a professional structure. So you could do it like that, and there have been times when people have come to me with budgets and I would come right out and tell them, we have to either just focus on accomplishing one thing and just doing it really well, or maybe this should be a lyric video and not a full-on video, or maybe, what's a good way to put it? Maybe there's somebody you may know in your circle who can shoot this for you and kind of get it done.
Yes, indeed. And Steve just tapped into a very important, profoundly pivotal part of your musical career that can't be overlooked, and that is community. In fact, Steve is really a poster child for community, because with Videostatic.com, he has created the world's most authoritative source for all things music videos. So just out of what was, I guess, your former job that ended in 2005, if I'm not mistaken,
something like
you
that.
said to yourself, okay, I'm going to become the world's most authoritative source for music videos. And kudos to you. You've built this community where everybody knows you're the go-to guy to get the great advice.
Yeah, I just, I don't always know the direction and the end destination. I just start moving, which I think is also good advice for artists, where it's like, you don't need to know the end point and you don't need to know what your direction is entirely, but just keep moving and keep doing things. I'm working to build a little YouTube series with somebody right now, and it's just about just keep doing it, keep plugging it. And every day, the subscribers go up by a little bit, and, the views go up by a little bit. And, at some point something is going to click and take off, hopefully. But in the meantime, we're just doing it. And just, I think that's, very similar to your story, which is, and you and I go back to when you actually started the company, but it was like, here's an opportunity, do it, see where it leads. And, I think that that's a good way to proceed.
In a world where most music promotion companies are intentionally set up so that not only do you not talk to the person in charge, you don't talk to anybody. So Steve Gottlieb, can you imagine? He is a top expert when it comes to all things music videos. But if you go to contentvideo.net, he's got his phone number there, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine that. I mean, I'm consulting with someone saying, hey, I saw what you got going on, and I'm thinking about doing a behind the scenes, or because we're recording a record, or I'm thinking about doing a interview series, or yeah, I've been watching these videos and it's true, visual content is going to be what you're going to need, being that everybody's pretty much stuck watching their laptop, phone, TV. So yeah, tell people that you're an easily reachable source for help.
Yeah, for better or worse, I'm pretty easy to reach. I kind of try to be as high touch as possible, as people say. There's very few things where I'm not directly involved and kind of overseeing it. But I basically operate as a consultant and as a connector. Like, those are my two biggest things. So whatever you're trying to do, there's somebody in my group who can do it, and there's somebody who's going to be reachable to me to do it.
Excellent. So I don't think a lot of talented creatives on the independent music landscape are aware of this very fact. Surgeons get all the credit, but it's also the anesthesiologists and nurses behind the scenes that make it go smoothly. Who are some of these unsung heroes, these people that you've leaned on for all these years? They're totally the unsung heroes, but just let our audience understand here that these people are vitally important.
Well, I've seen edits get saved by a good editor. I've seen, so footage get saved by a great colorist. I've seen assistant directors really take over and kind of keep things moving on set. These are all roles that you don't really think about. A great cinematographer, is, one of the key things you need to get something great. But even that cinematographer needs a great gaffer to make sure the lights are good, and needs a great team behind him or her. So, there's a reason why if you get a call sheet for a music video, there's, there could be 20 to 75 people on that call sheet, depending on how big your production is. And all of those people play a role. I just did a very small music video project for an independent artist, and it was a tiny crew. It was a 5-person crew or something like that. And the director took care of playback, and everything was kind of DIY. And everybody was really happy with it. And that comes down to kind of expectations and setting the expectations.
Okay, well, now it's lyric video question time. Because we've got a human family glued to their screens, and we've got those people, Steve, you know him, being a video promotion guy for many years, they are seeing a substantial decrease in the amount of content being presented to them in this current time we live in. And of course, it makes sense because the world is a bit torn asunder and it's tough to shoot a real music video. So, Steve, your thoughts on lyric videos?
I like lyric videos. Lyric videos are generally a pretty inexpensive and cheap way to, they're a pretty inexpensive and quick way to get a piece of content up. I do think certain genres are better for lyric videos than other genres. You don't see a lot of lyric videos for indie rock bands. You don't see a lot of lyric videos for heavy rock bands. But in pop leaning sort of genres, I think lyric videos are effective. But they're usually placeholders just to buy you a couple weeks before the official music video comes. But it's also a way to get, there is a generation of kids coming up who want to learn things, and who want to watch things and kind of learn from what they watch. So, while some artists are still doing lyric videos, some people are doing dance videos, which is very translatable to TikTok, which is all the rage right now. And you can also look at, pseudos, which is basically taking pre-existing art and album art and kind of making them a little bit dynamic and making them a little bit animated. And that can serve the same purpose as a lyric video. It just sort of depends on what your lane is as an artist. Growing up, there were some bands, you would buy the CD and there would be a lyric book and the lyrics would be a big thing and you would pour over it. And then there were other bands where it was always kept mysterious. And it's only now that I'm learning the actual lyrics to some of these songs. So I think lyric videos definitely have a place. They're typically much less expensive than music videos. They're fairly quick to produce. And in the right genre, they're effective.
Well, I think I speak for all the viewers that are watching this transmission right now that we learned a heck of a lot here in the last 30 minutes. Certainly, number one is that you now are aware of a top expert in the world of all things music videos. And Steve, as you've seen, he very much deserves that Music Video Production Association Lifetime Achievement Award. Steve, congrats.
This is all gravy.
That's right, my friends. I'm telling you.
Afterlife.
You go to contentvideo.net. You check Steve out. And the more you investigate, the more you realize that he is the genuine real deal. And what's remarkable is at that website, there's a phone number. So now, instead of approaching a visual content project, not knowing what to do, because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And because everything has migrated online, Visuals definitely reign supreme. So getting in touch with Steve Gottlieb at contentvideo.net, serious inquiries only.
Thank you.
It's a no-brainer, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, seems like a no-brainer.
I know, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Yeah, why should these viewers go it alone? You might as well get someone who's actually going to consult with you, actually speak with you. Imagine that in 2021, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said, like I'm pretty hands-on for what I work on. And I kind of act as a quarterback for everything. And and I try to steer people in the right direction for what they're trying to do.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, let Steve Gottlieb be your scrubbing bubbles. He will do the work so you don't have to.
Kind of think of myself as more of a Sherpa.
I love that. It's true.
Like we're going up a mountain.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match.
Well, I mean, there's less singing. But,
All right. Well, folks, if you've enjoyed this episode of Hip to the Scene, you can share, you can like, you can comment, you can reach out, because our episodes are all about trying to answer the questions we know talented creatives are looking to have answered. And speaking of questions and answers, Steve, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. This is the trivia answer to the question we didn't ask.
Okay.
Yvette Rednow. If you want to know what the question is, all you have to do is look in the YouTube description below. Steve, thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Ladies and gentlemen, you should know I would not be here speaking to you on this transmission if it wasn't for my friend Steve. So just please go check out contentvideo.net. It's going to be worth your time. If you really want to get your mind blown, go to videostatic.com. Music videos with really smart, thoughtful editorial. Right, Steve?
Used to be smarter, but yeah, I mean, still try to conjure up the brain cells to decipher some of these videos. But yeah, it's a place for people who are mainly in the business to kind of see what's new and what's cool. And we list the credits. So even if you want to go around me and just reach out directly, all of those names are usually right there. And that's just something that I've been doing for a long time. And, we'll see how long I keep doing it. But yeah.
Just keep fighting the good fight, my friend. You give of yourself ungrudgingly. You ask for very little in return. But there is no doubt about it. There's nobody out there who could give you better sage wisdom than Steve. So until the next time, everybody keep fighting the good fight. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. See ya. Bye, everyone.